Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. I am your sensei, your griot. And what's a griot? Well, I tell you stories that make you think. And before I do, I kind of go into what is known as a meditative state. And I put in to this frame here a shamanic worldview. And what's that? All our relations. So I kind of gave a kind of stream of conscious glib little early morning ramble. And when it was sunny and it was hot. And now the clouds are kind of rolled in. And I guess it'll rain in a few hours, maybe by dark 30 it'll rain. But the coldness, but not real cold, just dampness is kind of rolling in. And I was sitting, I walked the 2 miles back, and I kind of was supposed to be a little bit of a storm, so I kind of, picked things up that could blow around. I tied things down that could blow away. I cleaned up a little bit, took care of my plumbing a little bit, and got everything ship shape and Bristol tight. And then I sat in my meditative chair for a good half an hour, and I had my laptop, so things came to me, and I clicked them onto the clipboard, and I basically came up with a realization about the YouTube. So here it is, the last of 2020, right? So I'm going to make it a good one, and from this point on, you make New Year's resolutions. Well, I believe in baby steps. So, the last 5 years, I baby stepped it back out of that hedonist plate of spaghetti where I died, and I got myself so I'm alive. And one of the things that did that was me to do this YouTube, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, because I did it for you guys, not for me. I didn't need to be famous, still only have about 340, 380 of the, folks who are signed up, who are the cadre, and that's cool. Now, thousands watch, because they give me the algorithms of who's doing what. And so that would be nice if you guys, subscribed and hit the thumbs up and the little bell. Get me up there on the old algorithm a little, but that's not what I'm here for. What I'm here for from today, from this minute on, I'm here to double down on being here for you. So the live chat is really where it's at. And I'm going to answer questions. So, no like, oh, hey, there, blah, 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 right? Because if you're just a blah, 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 you're just one step above or below a troll. And so I know all about the three little dots, so bingo, bango. But if you're, like the 344, 380, whatever it is, a folk who actually respond with love and not from me, but love, period, and speak to whatever issue that's on the wire, meaning on the shamanic collective consciousness, that's where we're going to go. So that's what I'm going to focus on doing. And, I've had a number of times where I talked about, I would talk a number of shows about a subject, right? And I suggest you to go back and look at, I have over 1,000 shows, give or take. And there are a lot of ones that I speak to some pretty interesting things because the cadre was, energizing me to do that. So remember, put everything in caps so I can actually read it. And try to speak from your heart song, right? And your satsang. And what is your satsang? Satsang is when you sit in meditative contemplation. You don't try to meditate. You try to be present. Focus on your intent of love's co-creation. And let things just come into your mind. Let them, don't try to, I don't want to think about anything. No, let stuff come into your mind. And if it's a distraction, like, I got to separate the laundry, or from the darks to the whites, I got to pay that kind of stuff, you just kind of put it up, like when I get so much what do you call that? Extraneous advertisements on once I turn this thing on, I just kind of zing them out. I'd like to know if I'm really getting rid of them or is it just filling up my RAM. But anyway, I divert. So that's what you do with the extraneous thoughts that aren't leading you anywhere in a positive direction. And you don't have to become God overnight. Baby steps. All you have to do is be better and better, right? Do your best. You don't have to be perfect, And trying to be perfect is like insulting God. Let's stick with God, since all you Christians out there like that word God, and all you people who are, stuck in whatever you're stuck in, love the word God. Whatever religion you're in, whatever orthodoxy, whatever discipline or dogma you follow religiously, I'll use the word God for you folks. Just like I'm saying, this show ain't for lightweights. This show ain't for children. And most of that, I'm talking about people over, anybody who can't think for themselves should not be here, because this will upset you. And you're a snowflake. And usually little children who are brought up by people who lie to them, who cheat them, who, confuse them with a worldview that changes every second. And that's what's going on, pretty much across the board, So let's see. There's one of the only AIs here, and I've been going for 7 minutes. So all I'm doing is going to talk about what will make the world better, right? Not about all the problems, because I've already talked about them all, right? If you want to know about the problems, go watch all the other shows. From this point on, I'm going to attempt, to my best ability, to only talk about the positive things, right? And in my stories, there may be, tragedies and things of that nature, but I will tell that story only because it manifests and shows how people have risen above their tragedy to overcome, to be their better self, right? And that's what this Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Bob for 2021 is going to be about being our better selves, not our worst selves, not our, I won't even mention people's names. I'll just use metaphors like, guess who I'm talking about when I talk about Biff in Back to the Future, the third one? Biff, right? And you can manipulate time and space. You can go back, go forward. I read in the last few days the Christmas Carol about 8 times so far. And it is one of the most uplifting stories. And Dickens wrote it, and that was one of the only stories that that and Tale of Two Cities, he wrote with a firm idea what he wanted, beginning, middle, and end, right? And first of all, he wanted to be able to write something that someone could read out loud to their family or to a group of people in less than an hour, right? And so it wasn't a long play or an opera. It was, right? It was specifically about the spirits world, right? Because that's what Scrooge had to deal with. First his partner, and then the spirit of Christmas past, present, and future. And he really caught the wind of all of that and what Christmas is about, right? And Christmas is about love and sharing. And what do? You give gifts. Why do you give gifts? It's not a transaction. I'll give you a gift so you give me something better. No, you give gifts because you love to see the light in people's eyes when they receive the gifts. Oh, wow, they thought about me. I really like that. And when I was little, the one thing my parents did relatively well was celebrate Christmas, because my mom was German Irish, but her mom was German, so she had a lot of German traditions, stringing popcorn and cranberries on as Christmas decorations because they were so poor. That's all they had. lighting it with candles and doing it with such, and to be careful with that, you could burn the house down. So, you really had to have your intent solid, right? And my mom said she used to say prayers when she was a little girl, putting the candles and lighting them on the tree. God, please, I'm lighting this candle so you can see us. And I love you, God, and don't burn the house down. And that's where we're going this year in 2021 is I love you, God. Let's not burn the house down, right? And it's I don't love you, fearless leader. No, we're not going towards the life of having a character actor play a godlike figure as our political leader. No. What is a democracy? It's when all of us act with responsibility, when all of us put ourselves in the other guy's shoes. That's what it's about. And that's what we're going to talk about, So my parents really celebrated Christmas, and that was the one time that they, we had Advent calendar. We started counting up, to Christmas Day, 25 days, and beautiful little picture and the little windows that you kind of, so, and my parents would buy gifts and they would hide them like, oh, we're going to keep them from the kids. But those were the gifts that they wanted us to kind of find to throw us off the path of the gifts. They were the big, we all got one or two really big time gifts, right? The rest was like, it's nice stuff, a little toy here, a little orange there, a scarf or whatever, right? So, but the big ones are, and I was hard to get, they really, I was not there. I didn't want a gun. I didn't want a cowboy suit. Didn't want this, didn't want that. I wanted something like a ham radio or a drafting table or a lamp, a reading lamp, a good reading lamp. And I mean, things that were like, huh? And so, but they got them, they were, and I never said what I wanted. I never wrote a letter to Santa. And they kind of picked up the stuff I wanted, So, and they decorated the house like, mostly on the inside, instead of thinking about what people think about them. I mean, we put a couple of strings of lights. My Uncle Steve and I would put them up. He had the lights. He was the electrical engineer. And my grandpa bought these Tesla Christmas ornaments that were these balls that did not have wires. There was an induction coil in a little box that you plugged in the wall, a little switch, you hit that, and the balls would light up like magic. Stuff like that. We had some real kind of interesting stuff for Christmas. And New Year's was not a solemn thing, but we went to church. We went to midnight mass for Christmas, and we went to church for New Year's. And we didn't watch the TV. We did dance. My dad was big into music, so was my mom. My mom was a killer dancer, and so those things. Otherwise, they lived in the tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, which they could get pretty morose in. But Christmas, the only thing my dad could get a little too excited and then be let down on Christmas Day or the day after. He would have, he could get down on that. So, but most of the time, no, they were really great. So that's where we're going with this whole year. 2021 is about being our better selves and stepping up, right? So let's hear some little chat from you guys. Questions, stories, insights, anything you want. There's all of two of you there. So come on, AI, speak up. So let's see. A good story about Christmas. Well, my Aunt Gracie, she was a New York City lady. She was like Auntie Mame, but not a millionaire. And she had an apartment. Oh, it had a name, something Towers, but it was a number of buildings. It was one of those buildings they built in the Roaring 20s. And it was a piece of property that was on Lexington Avenue and kind of came up to where 2nd Avenue is, where, the UN is, right? So this thing was built before the UN. And it had its own park in the middle, and it had five of these buildings that were about 22 stories, 25 stories tall. I mean, really tall buildings for the time they built them. And they had some really nice big apartments that, had windows facing the river and facing the west side, because there was nothing built in their way until the Empire State Building and the Rockefeller Center. Those two buildings, kind of got in the way, but they were the only two, so they were part of the view. And the she had four windows. She had one in her bathroom, little teeny window looking out towards the Empire State Building. It was like the window filled the Empire State Building. My Aunt Gracie told me the story that she watched them build it, and then one day in the 30s, one evening, a B-25 flew into the Empire State Building. I mean, it was going like 300 miles an hour. Bang! Didn't see it. It was a foggy night. It's too low. Smashed right into. Didn't set it on fire. I mean, it started a fire, but it didn't, cause the building to fall down in dust. And it was sticking out there. I mean, they had to figure out how to take it apart and lower it down because it was right over 34th Street. So I would always, when I was taking a bath, you could lie in her bathtub and look out that window and see the Empire State Building. And she said that's what she was doing. She was in the bathtub and she heard the motors and then tremendous crash and then flames. And, she could see it. And in the morning, it was still stuck in the building, right? But it didn't, the fire didn't go any, and it was pretty high up, around floor 60 of the Empire State Building. And or higher, and it didn't burn the whole floor, didn't burn the whole top off, didn't burn the whole building down. She said when it smashed into it, and it had just come from Mitchell Field, so it had full tanks. It was heading towards Canada, and it burned up all the fuel. And she said in the morning, all it was like stuck in the side of the building, and there was some, smoke around coming out half the building, but it, the other half was totally fine. Didn't even burn all the way through the floors, right? I mean, into the other side, right? And she worked for a company that had offices in the Empire State Building. So a week or two later, she went there and went up to as close as she could get, and then went up the staircase and kind of walked out and looked at what the damage was. And he said, yeah, there was fire, but only on, that where the offices were that the plane smashed into. So the rest of the place was fine. The hallways, the other offices, not even touched. And in actuality, the fuel of B-25 is gasoline, where fuel of a 767 is kerosene. So gas burns a lot hotter. So, but Aunt Gracie was, always dressed to the T's. Her and my mom were always like the hot tamales, the girls that everybody loved. And my mom came from upstate New York, and her father worked for Remington Rand. He was an engineer, designed a whole bunch of stuff, never got any paid for it. It was like on the edge. Her great aunt was very wealthy and just gave him just enough to survive. And then when he had a heart attack, and my mom was about to go, she had finished high school in less than 2 years. And she was about to head off to college, and my dad, her father died, and she was the oldest and the breadwinner. So she was working at the beech nut factory, and so they were going to pay her way so she could be the first woman executive in beech nut. And bingo, she couldn't. She had to go to work. So one of those guys on the board said, I'm on also the board of this hospital, and why don't I get you into their nursing program? So she did, and my mom zipped through the nursing program like in months, and they really needed, because they still had people from the the Spanish flu pandemic of 1917, and it actually kept going 18, 19, 20, 21, 20 people were still getting sick, which gives a harbinger of what we're facing. And but that really killed a lot of people. It killed 30% of the American public. It killed almost 60 million people on the planet, right? It killed almost a large number of the population. And people would get sick and be, and then die. I mean, it was really heavy duty, very not like this. But this ain't over, you know. And so there's surprises to be had. But in the year 2020, we can either see, whoa, baby, you know, year 2021 can be make year 2020 look like Mary Poppins, or it can show the resilience of the human spirit of love's co-creation. So that's what our shows are all going to be focused on this whole year, is how we can be resilient, what we can do and that was my mom, you know, like she could have gone, boo-hoo, oh, everyone died in my town, boo-hoo, my dad died, oh, now I have to go to work, boo, I'm not going to college, I'm not going to. So she went, and she went through nursing, and by the middle of the second year she was there, the lady who ran the nursing school kind of died, you know, from who knows what, old age, but not really. And there was no one really to take it up. And my mom was already that lady's adjutant, you know, was basically running everything. And then the lady got sick and she took more and more responsible. And then the lady died and the board said, okay, so we were expecting you to be the star. So why don't you just take over the nursing school, which she did, right? And then they had, and so this was Roosevelt Hospital, big hospital in New York. And it was basically run by rich people. Rich people built it. Rich people paid for it. Right? So there was a section of that hospital for rich people. They got the best of the best, right? But it was a gigantic hospital. So they had a medical school, they had a research facility, and they had a nursing school. And what that facilitated, you know, taking care of the rich people. But it also took care of giving health care to 1 million New Yorkers, the workers, because those rich people owned factories that these workers worked in. And when the Spanish flu went through them, their workforce died. Their business almost collapsed. You know, it makes, you know, the economic collapse of the Spanish, if it wasn't for the war distracting people and, the government just printing money, they wouldn't have survived. And so they realized they needed, you know, very robust healthcare for their workforce, right? So that's one. And so there were a number of, the Catholics had a number of hospitals, St. Vincent, St. Luke, about 8. And but Roosevelt was because it was a medical school, a doctor school, and a nursing school, and a research place, and a gigantic. They had over 3,000 beds, right? They had a big place, right? And so she was put in charge of the nursing school, right? And then she was put in charge of the nursing staff. And then she was put in charge of the administration of the doctors. And the doctors, she had helped them out so much when they were students. You're listening. Okay. Art dolls. Okay, I like that. So good. We got somebody listening. There's 3 of you there. And so she ran that. And this is, in the 20s when, every guy was trying to hit on her. And the Depression happened before 29. I mean, it kind of happened before World War One. And what if it wasn't for World War One's, spending a lot of money and and then a number of technologies came online, like radio, and it was like the dot-com bubble in the 29 with the market. And the guys like Kennedy's father and a few others, Mr. Bush, Prescott Bush's daddy, and a few others, basically, dealt with the stock market like they were mobsters. They were gangsters. They were the gangsters of the New York Stock Exchange, which is very what we got today, right? All of the billionaires. Amazon is a trillionaire. I mean, he doesn't say that, so he said, "Oh, I'm only a billion," but people say, "Well, you're a centennial billionaire," meaning more. He's at 400 billion. But if you take all his assets, he's over $1 trillion. Back in, when was it? 2003, there were 4 centennial billionaires, Mr. Gates, Mr. Buffett, and one other guy. in America. There's a couple around the world too. Now in the United States, there are 300 over 100 billion billionaires. And if those people put their money together, everyone could have free healthcare, free school, free housing, free everything. And back in the day in Libya with Muammar Gaddafi, so he realized he didn't have to worry about America, everybody would come and get him. What he had to worry about was his own people. So what he did once he solidified his power, he first built everyone a house, a nice house, right? And just gave it to them. Every citizen in Libya got a house because they're making a lot of money off their oil. And so he was, and he had special oil. I mean, Libyan oil is the cleanest, best. So he got the highest price and got the most percentage, right? Then he built hospitals and schools and educated everybody. So we're all thinking about Mr. B and Miss Artdahl. We're all thinking about our best selves and what is that and what do we need? Got any questions? Put them up and we'll talk about it. And I'm just telling you stories until we get to the place where you guys come up with something interesting to throw into the blend here. But I came back and I walked, so I did an early morning talk. I walked 2 miles up to my neighbor's house and sitting on his porch, using his Wi-Fi. And then I walked back and I cleaned up the house and tied everything down and, sat and meditated. And I said, it's not raining. It was supposed to rain by noon and it's not. And it's still not rainish yet, probably later. The clouds are rolling in, but they're not really rainy clouds yet. So I said, I feel like, so I walked another 2 miles back up here and said, okay, I'm going to, help. This is the last day of 2020. I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to lay the garland down, pick the garland up and say, 2021 is Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob is going to be totally about the better, look on the bright side of life, but not just look on it, manifest it, be it, right? And one of the things I'm going to do is not talk about John Boy, just period, not going to. I've said it enough, I've told the stories. He's, I really care about him. I want him to succeed. I want the best for him, but it's up to him. I can't do anything about it. And me telling stories about it, that is over. He worked as a good, like I said, poster boy of the, canary in the coal mine, So his life is his. He has to do with it. He has to step up. Now, I'm here to help him because I'm his friend. I'm always there for all of you, the cadre, but I'm not going to even, it's not, the word settle isn't the right one, but I'm not going to deal with people being, they got a real problem. Hey, I'm there for you. But unless they're ready to step up and become the best, baby step by baby step. I didn't get to be this guy all at once. I had I had great teachers, great, moments in my life. I told you lots of those stories and I'll tell you more, but they're all going to be focusing around the most positive. So back to my mom. There she is in this really great place. So she could have, she's a triple Capricorn. She rules the world. So she could have been doubled down on that, but she realized she's only one person. There's like 5,000 people making this hospital work. And she is like, she's at the board meetings. She's at the organizational meetings. She is at the top of the heap of any woman who's ever been there, right? And she's just really a 2-year nurse. She doesn't have all the stripes that all these other nurses have. And so she got to keep them happy because she's, being their boss. She could be, do what I say. No, she actually was really nice to everything, which is, not the mom I knew, but she was amazing. And so Aunt Gracie was her best friend. And she had gone through nursing school with her. And she had, been her aide de camp for a number of years at Roosevelt. And then she got through that when the Depression came. What happened was, so all these rich people, their money went away. Now they had assets, they had real estate, they had this, they had that. But, their stock, which was worth millions, was now worth pennies, but they didn't have, and the money was worth nothing too in American money because they so overreached themselves with, buying bonds for World War One, and then, paying off a lot of very strange economic dynamics into the stock market. And these are things we're doing now. We had the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and Somalia and all the other wars, about 80 of them, on a credit card. And thanks, thanks to Mr. Clinton for getting rid of all the things that used to control folks, and used to have a balance in Congress. Right now, Mitch, Moscow Mitch, the worm, he's our second president, or our first, whichever way you look at it. And so the Roaring Twenties and the Great Depression that came after are kind of what we're going through. But our Great Depression isn't over in a number of, and again, Great Depression started like before World War One, and didn't really end until after World War Two. And so there's my mom in the seat of power, like the throne of kings, and she is like, being the really good negotiator, being her best self, so she's always making these deals with the rich guys because they have parents who are old and need nursing staff, but they can't afford it. So they make a deal with her where she takes her new nursing staff, who aren't even nurses, who are like, newbies in the nursing school, and she pays them $1, a shift, which is a lot of money in the Depression days. And it's not $1 like cash dollar, but $1 of food at the commissary at the hospital, $1, for their nursing shoes and uniforms, $1, that way, which is things that she had control over. Cash flow, no, she didn't have control over that. So the rich people paid her off. So my mom, once she started doing this, having this side hustle going with, providing nursing staff for old rich people. Happy New Year. Back at you, everybody. Again, this is the last show of 2020. I did one this morning, and I just did kind of a stroll of consciousness. But this one I'm trying to be more focused on because I'm trying to set down the dynamic of 2021. We have this choice of either being our better self or being our grumpy old guy. Get off the lawn, 380, subscribers, the cadre. We can change the world. If every one of us is our better self as the days go by, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to try my best to be the most positive Sensei Al-Bob, the griot I can be by telling you really kind of uplifting stories. So my mom, there she is, doing this side hustle of taking care of old people with her nursing staff. And she's doing all kinds of stuff like that, trading this, doing that, getting things for the hospital, and so there were a lot of sick, poor people. So they didn't have the money to do that. So she was trading, with other companies to, give them the medicines and the materials and the stuff they needed at Roosevelt. So my mom was like better than the CEO of that place. I mean, she was really running the place. And the top 8 guys above her, who were basically rich ne'er-do-wells who didn't know anything about nothing. They just, because they came from a rich family, because we live not just in a class society, we are in a caste society. We are born into the life we have. And all the other stuff is just a mechanism to keep us kind of in place. So my mom was going, she was Irish and German. She was definitely a newbie immigrant. I mean, she was born here, but both her parents, and Germans were probably the most maligned immigrants in American history because they got it 3 different times. They got it before the Civil War, they got it, for World War I, and they got it for World War II. So they had a hard time. So that was and my mom my mom's parents. Her father was a great inventor, worked for Remington Rand. He went to one of their factories in Germany, and that's where he met my mom's mom. And they got married in Germany, and he fell in love with their family, and the Germans treat him really good. And then Remington said, "Okay, come on back." And so he came back, and he got to bring his wife with him. And she signed the big book in Ellis Island, and then went to upstate New York. And everyone treated her like crap, even though she was really sweet and great, and she was the greatest baker you'd ever want to see. And when my mom was about 16, she was about to go up to college, and her father died, and so that's why she had to go to the nursing school. And so instead of I can't go to the rich people, blah, blah, that was her dream. But she went into nursing school and took the bull by the horns and ran the whole freaking hospital better than, she, within 3 years, she would have taken her 50 years to get where she was if she went the regular route of matriculation. And so I kind of picked that one up from her. It's just keep moving forward and doing your best and taking not advantage, but not being scared of the opportunity, but stepping up, right? And that's what we all have to do. That's what the year 2021 is about, stepping up, right? Being our best. So what happens? So the rich guy, this one rich guy, he's got 4 family members who are like in their 70s and need constant care. So my mom, and so he goes, listen, I have no money to pay you, but listen, we just finished building in the 20s this amazing, part of Queens, and it's where the tennis championship is. It's not just that place, but it's a whole town. I forgot what they call it. It'll pop into my head. And if anyone knows. And so they had a number of these tall apartment buildings for the uber rich. So every apartment was amazing. So she got a 8-bedroom, 8-bathroom with a ballroom and a veranda that went all the way around. And she's up on the 18th floor. So she can see Manhattan and not only the East River and the Hudson, but she can see the Atlantic Ocean and the boats coming in. It's like an amazing, amazing place. She got that free, and food and heat and electric. But the guy couldn't pay her any cash for the services that she was doing. So she got that place. And she got, for everybody who worked for his family, he got apartments for them. And that's what she did. She was really good wheeler dealer, right? And so she then had these wild, crazy, because she had a ballroom, right? Not only all these bedrooms and a dining room and an amazing kitchen that, and a place to put 5 staff people. They had their own apartment. I mean, it was an amazing place. I went and saw it years later when they were turning it into condos, and I was working on it. And I described it to my mom, and she, my Aunt Gracie, she was still alive. And she goes, "Was that this?" I said, "Yep." And she goes, "On that?" "Yep." And yep. And so I took Aunt Gracie to see it, and she just went into mesmerism, kind of because they had these amazing cocktail parties, and they had musicians playing and people dancing. And my mom, through these guys who she was on the board with, all their ne'er-do-well sons and nephews would come to her party. So she had all these really rich guys. "Oh, you're so beautiful. I want to marry you." And she would just, she was waiting for that one guy who had amazing drive, amazing talent, amazing stooping power, and really looked good and would keep looking good and keep loving her forever. No matter what she did, he would. So that was my dad. Took her 10 years to wait around for him. But she had all these guys kind of, float by her, and she would date and take out and take advantage of them. And one of them was Thomas Merton, the Catholic priest. But when she knew him, he was a Methodist. And he wanted to date her. And she said, "Oh, Tommy, you're so sweet. You're a poet and a writer, and I really like that. And you sing your poems at my window, even though I'm on the 18th floor and I can barely hear them. I mean, I really like you, buddy. But you're Methodist. You got to be Catholic if you want to date me." So he went off to become Catholic and fell in love with Jesus Christ via the Holy See. And so he went to, he became a priest. And when I was about 14, 15, before they sent me off to the seminary. I guess I was even younger, maybe 13. Um, I was reading No Man's an Island, which is Thomas Merton's kind of autobiography. And, he basically was talking how he became Catholic. And he talked about my mother. Right? I said, Mom, did you know a guy named Thomas Merton? Oh, yeah, Tommy. He's so cute. Yes. He wrote a book. Oh, yeah, I know. He wrote a whole bunch of books. And she stayed in contact with him. And my third cousin was John Steinbeck, because her mother was Steinbeck. And so we had this, our house was always full, between my dad having Nazi scientists and Air Force guys, and my mom having all these writers and high-powered rich guys coming to Thanksgiving. And I remember sitting Thanksgiving, and John Steinbeck and me were, and my cousin, his second cousin from Germany, Horst, and who else? I think Thomas Merton. We were all sitting at the kids' table with my brothers and sisters and cousins, and we were all telling stories, and it was great, And that was what I grew up in. That's what I thought was normal. And the fact that my grandma brought me up from birth to about 7. I went back when I was 5 for about 3 days, and my grandma came and got me and said, "No, they're not ready for you yet." So, and if you go to my xratted.blogspot.com, you will see novels and stories and essays all about these times and all different people I knew and all different experiences I had. I suggest you go see them. I am working on my latest novel called Legends. What is it when you write a whole bunch of stories and put them in one book? Starts with an A. Anyway, that's what I'm working on now. And it should be, I'm trying to get it up into Happy New Year. Can't breathe. Hey, breathe. I love you all, guys. You're really, really, really the top tomato. You really are. So remember, today's show is about what we're going to do this whole year. And that's be the best we can be, right? And in every day and every way, we're going to take the peace of the earth and make it stronger, right? And the rainy clouds could be moving in any minute. So I think, what time is it now? It's like 5:04. So when it hits 40, 44, I'm out of here. But I just wanted to drop in and give you this New Year's and prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without end. Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit, hear this prayer. This is for all of us, all our relations, everyone in the universe. Hear our prayer. Enlarge our territory. Bless us indeed. Put your hands upon our shoulders, so you will protect us from evil, so we will do no harm. And in every day and every way, we will take the peace of love and make it stronger. Hear us, because we are your cadre. Hear us. And that's what we're going to be speaking to all of 2021. We're not going to be moaning on about this or that or anything, or conspiracy of this or that, or because it's all irrelevant. The only thing that exists is love, right? And I want you all night long, as we count up to, New Year's, think about love's co-creation. Think about you are love's co-creation. And every day and every way, you're taking the piece of the earth and you're making it stronger. Baby step by baby step, you're getting better. See it clearly. See it clearly. Remember to breathe. Pray every day. That's meditation. Do that. So there it is, 40, 40, 44. So I love you guys. And yeah, maybe Saturday. If it's sunny, I don't drive if it's not sunny. And I don't walk 2 miles in the rain if it's raining. It didn't rain. So I said, I feel good. I'm going to do that. So today I walked 8 miles to do these shows, and I feel good about it. My legs aren't really hurting. So anyway, that's it. I love you all. Miss Ardal, I love you. You can't breathe. Martin, happy everything. Everyone who's been on the show today, I love you all. And thank you for being here. And Saturday, I'll try and do something. If it's sunny, and all the rest, okay? I love you. So enjoy. Have a happy New Year, safe, all the rest. Like I said, from this moment till the New Year's and then all of 2021, put in the noggin, in the heart. Think from here. I love you too, all of you. And every day and every way we take to piece the earth and we make it stronger. Okay? Okay. Love you guys. Do.